Peace everyone, Unmask Art here, and welcome back to part 2 of this puppy in pastel pencils. I started this on Monday, and today I am going to start working on the main body. We finished up the head, the nose, the eyes, and all that fun detail. So we're going to be using the same pencils, the Carbothello pencils. Again, I have the link for the supplies that I'm using in the video description, along with the paper, which is Clairefontaine pastel matte, and that is about it. One of the things that I want to mention really quick is I changed the settings on my camera. So if you notice, my exposure is a bit brighter on the paper, making it a bit brighter. If you could just give me some quick feedback on the exposure here and just let me know whether or not you like it or you don't like it. It makes the paper look like pretty much pure white, but I noticed that it makes the actual drawing itself look closer to what it looks like in person. So if it's a bit too bright, let me know and I'll just change the exposure really quick and turn it down a little bit. But for now, I am going to grab my 105, that is 105, yes, 105 color, and start working in some of the highlights. Hello, Steve, Jaguar, and Sarah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, and welcome to the stream. Exposure seems fine to you? Okay, fantastic. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so I'm going to start over here on the puppy's right shoulder and just start filling in some of the direction of the fur in the way that it's growing. And this is the same exact procedure that we did on the face. I first established where the highlights are on the face, and then I used a darker color for creating some of the darker shadows that were occurring, and then I kind of went in between and filled in the rest of the information while all maintaining a disciplined pencil stroke to keep the fur texture very clear. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pay attention to the direction that the puppy the fur is growing with this pencil here, even though it's going to be covered up quite a bit. I am good, thank you very much. Can I zoom in? Absolutely, I can zoom in. Alright, I don't know how much of this color is showing up, but let me know. This color is rather light, so it's not going to show up all that much, especially with this higher exposure that I have on my camera. But the technique that I'm using is exactly what we did on Monday with the fur on the face. Just blocking in most of the highlights here. This arm, this kind of shoulder part right here of the arm is all highlighted, all the way down to about here, where the elbow is. And the fur is draping across the arm slightly like this. It kind of has this arch, and it peaks about here. So that's where it peaks along this line, and so it's curving over, kind of like this. All like that. And then the fur on the arm, it changes directions down here by the elbow a little bit, but for the most part it's draping across the arm like this. You can use this color to create some lines to guide you through the direction of the fur, and that's what I like to do. I do that with colored pencils as well, so not just pastels. Kind of making broad strokes. Can't see that color much, but it's the technique that's important to see. Okay, yeah, I understand that this color is probably not going to show up that much. Let me go ahead and turn down the exposure a little bit. So there, that I think that is going to help let the color show up. So now you can see the color a bit more. The overall image is a bit darker, but now you can see this color a bit better. So hello Martine, the paper that I'm using is Clairefontaine Pastel Matte, and if you want to have a look at the what it looks like, if you're interested in buying it, I have a link for it in the description. That way you know that you're getting the right paper. I also have a link to the pencils as well. Okay, so this fur is going like this, and then down here along this side of the arm, kind of the forearm, I guess, the fur, like I said, it changes direction. It kind of sweeps down like this. Down and across the arm. See, up here it was sweeping up and then curving down, kind of like this, but down here it's falling on this side and then sweeping down towards the other side of the arm, and then almost back up a little bit. But the highlight is mostly on the right side here because our light source is coming from the right. So this is where the highlight is most important. And let's see, we got the chest hair is probably one of the more difficult areas of the dog to color, whether it's with pastels or with colored pencils. You kind of have this this bunching of the hair because it's kind of growing in towards each other, and you kind of create like this mohawk in the middle of the puppy's chest. And so to map that out, you find a few defining strands of hair, and we have one kind of growing this way, and then up near the collar it starts to fan out, so it's all kind of being pushed outwards in that way. And then as you get further down, it still comes towards the center, but it does a couple different fans. It fans out this way down here, kind of in this direction, and then as it gets closer, it actually changes direction and starts to fan up. So you kind of get 2 points. You get like a point right here, and you get a point down here where the fur is growing out. And then it's doing the complete opposite on the other side. There we go. Yeah, the fur changes direction a lot right here, and you just kind of have to do one section at a time. And then as you add more color, you'll get the shape a bit more. Question, as an undercoating, is there much difference in making the fur lines just a lightly coloring in the areas? Well, I like to see, what I'm doing is I am looking mainly at just the highlights, the really light areas of the fur, and I like to kind of block those sections in first because they're so important in creating like the shiny look of the fur. And so it kind of protects that area, because as you apply more layers to the paper, the color doesn't show up as vibrantly. So if I do the highlight areas first, then it kind of protects those shiny areas by mistakenly going over them with my darker colors later on. So I just like to do I'm avoiding all the dark spots. Like there's a dark spot of the fur kind of coming down here along this part of the arm and the side of the chest here, and for the most part it's just blank. I'm using the light color to just block in the highlights. Is it a white paper? Why you choose that color? Wouldn't a yellow be better? How to decide what color to choose? It is a white paper, and for the most part I just buy the Clairefontaine in just white. I get packs of white. They do sell packs that have like several different colors, and there is a nice maize color. But yeah, you could totally do this on yellow paper or a tan paper or whatever color you'd like. You could do it on a blue paper if you wanted to. I noticed that the colored papers, they generally don't make that much of a difference other than the space around your subject. In this case, I'm leaving the background completely blank. So I like the white background. If you wanted a colored background, then you could do a colored paper. But I've noticed that the colored paper doesn't do a whole lot in terms of changing the final look of the piece, especially if you cover the paper entirely. Instead, what it does is just add a little bit of extra darkness to all the colors overall. Sometimes I like the colored paper, sometimes I don't care for it, but mainly I am just using white because that's what I buy. No like artistic reason, just I buy the white paper and that's what I have. Some of the colored pieces that I do have are rather short or rather small. I think they're like A5, whereas this is A4. Or close to A4, not exactly A4, a little bit bigger. What colored pencils you usually use? Well, I'm for this isn't colored pencils, this is pastel pencils, and these are the Carbothello pencils. But in terms of just regular colored pencils, I use a variety. I use Prismacolor, Luminance, and occasionally Polychromos. Kind of rarely do I use Polychromos. For the most part, I like the Luminance and Prismacolor. No, I wouldn't say that the white paper is better. I'm just saying that I'm saying like the complete opposite. I'm not saying one paper is better than the other. I'm just saying that I buy white, therefore I use white. But if you want a color to background, choosing a paper of a specific color would probably make that a little bit easier. And I've used the colored paper before, and I do like it. I just don't buy it as often, because I can do any project I want with the white paper and not have to worry about the color of the paper influencing anything. And I do a lot of projects where I just do nothing in the background and then just the subject, and I like the blank. Will it be a huge difference if I use other paper or just normal paper instead of pastel matte? Yes, that is, well, first off, that's an excellent question, and yes, it will make a huge difference. When you're using pastels, what determines whether or not you like to use pastels is the paper that you use. I've used several different pencils now, and I've used several different brands of soft pastels, and I love them all because I am working on good paper. And good paper is going to determine whether or not you love or hate working with pastels. And there's like one other paper that I would, there's two other papers that I could say I would enjoy working on, and that's UArt sanded paper, and then also the Canson Mi Tinta touch paper. specifically the Mitenta Touch and not just the plain Mitenta, because they have the same name, but one has touch and one does not, and it's very confusing. So I'm trying to make that very clear that they are two different papers. All right, I think I have this laid out fairly well. So I'm going to grab, what color was it that I started with? I think I started with the 680, and I'm going to use this to start blocking in the darker parts of the fur. What grit do I recommend? So with the UART sanded paper, you can use 6 or 800. I've used both, and I haven't really noticed much of a difference between the two, but I always lean towards smoother paper. So I think the UART 800 grit would work perfectly fine. Have I ever tried using watercolor cold pressed paper for pastels? No, I have not, and I most likely won't. Simply because I have no use for cold pressed watercolor paper, and pastel matte paper that I'm using now works so wonderfully with pastels that to branch out and try another paper, I just don't feel compelled to do that. When it was regular colored pencils, it took me like 3 years to find a paper that I really enjoyed working on. But with pastels, I went straight to UART and Clairefontaine, and I don't even need to experiment with any other paper that exists, because it just works so perfectly that I can't imagine finding a paper that works half as good or if better. That makes sense. You only use pastel pencils? No, I don't only use pastel pencils. I usually use a combination of both soft pastels and pastel pencils. But for projects like this that are rather small, I mean, it's only about the size of my hand, I didn't feel like it was necessary to bring out the soft pastels to fill in what I'm working on for this project here. I like the control that the pastel pencils give me, and I just felt like keeping it simple. I have all my pencils out right now, and it's just cleaner. Pastel pencils don't make nearly as much dust as the soft pastels do, so just decided to keep it real simple with this project here. Yes, it's the paper that's in the description that I'm using. So I'm just blocking out the collar here. I don't intend to work on the collar today. Maybe maybe I'll just work on this area today, and I'll do the collar. I'll get this fur here done. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But I'm just blocking it out, making sure that the edges are really clean and sharp, and I don't have to like do this over and over again. Alright, so the fur over here is kind of growing out in this direction, so I'm just going to scribble in a few direction lines to map out that fur. It starts to change color here quite a bit. Has some yellow still as well, but I'll get to those colors later. And then we have a little bit of bunching occurring right here. There's kind of some fur growing down this direction as it kind of starts to curve around. And then we have the neck fur. So the neck fur kind of bunches up with the back, and it does this kind of subtle arch, and it pinches kind of right here a little bit. The fur starts to bunch up right there. Keep this area rather light. And then for the shoulder bone, like the shoulder blade, you can see the shoulder blade showing up about right here. And then we see the shoulder muscle coming in somewhat like that. And then you have this patch where this would be a lower spot in the back, like right behind the shoulder blade. And the fur is kind of being swept out in this direction as it rolls over the shoulder blade. It kind of dips down and then curls back towards the back a little bit, towards the spine, I mean. So just add a few direction lines there so that I can keep that flow mapped out. And then it all kind of drapes over the rib cage right here until it gets down to here. So just doing some small lines to indicate where the direction of the fur is going. That's what I'm doing right now. It starts to sweep out a little bit. See, it subtly changes direction. This is the difference between getting the fur to look like soft and realistic. You can't just draw one long smooth line. Even if you feel like doing that, you have to map out all those subtle changes where the fur starts to change direction. That's the key to getting the fur to look realistic, and keeping it smooth as well, because there's spots that bunch up, and one of the other things is that you don't want to exaggerate where it bunches up. So it's a delicate process. It takes a bit of practice and several projects to get the hang of it. But once you take your time and you break down each section and where the hair is changing direction, and take your time to map it all out. And if you use this process where you do the highlights and then you come in here with just like the medium color to start blocking in the darker spots, this will just help you get that direction of the fur correct without feeling overwhelmed, because there is a lot that's going on with the fur here, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed if you're not sure what to do. So breaking it down into these two different colors can really help. Oh, hello, Coffee Cat. So glad to see you in the live stream. It has been a while indeed. I've been seeing you post a lot of your manga book. I don't know if you refer to it as a manga or a comic book, but I would refer to it as a manga. I love your work, Coffee Cat. I love seeing it on my Facebook page. Oh, hello, Sambin. Hopefully, pronouncing that correctly. Now here you can see where the fur is swooping down. It has this pattern where it comes down around the arm. And then another complicated spot being right here. This is probably going to be the most difficult spot for anybody that may follow this tutorial. This spot right here, because you have this fur all coming down kind of in this direction and then starting to sweep up over the shoulder here. And then you have kind of the hair coming from underneath the arm here that is just doing its own thing. And it actually has a really distinct triangle shape that falls in line with like this triangle, this main triangle right here. I don't recommend drawing the triangle, but it comes out like this. This is the peak of the triangle, and it just kind of swoops out like this off the arm. So these two furs are connecting with two different directions. They're hitting each other with two different directions. So all the fur coming from underneath the arm is doing this shape here with this triangle. And then on top of all of that, you have this fur here doing its own thing. It's coming out like this. So we have several different directions of fur meeting up in one area. This is kind of the inside of the elbow right here. This fur is coming down like that. Yeah, something like that. How to improve your painting tutorials? You mean like how to improve creating tutorials? Is that your question? Like, are you making art tutorials on YouTube and you're asking me how to make better ones? Because that's how I'm reading the question, so let me know if I'm reading that correctly or not. Alright, we have this fur here fanning out, so I might as well add a few lines there so I don't lose that information that I have sketched down. Okay, so I am correct in assuming you're referring how to make better tutorials. Well, what I would suggest you do is write the tutorial first before ever drawing it or recording it or anything like that. Write out the script and follow a good follow a good example of what a good tutorial is. So if you like the way somebody presented a tutorial, for instance, if you liked one of the ways that I presented a tutorial, then simply write down the format that I used throughout the video, and then write your own version of it, or a similar version that you like, and replicate the format. I mean, that's what you do with everything else, right? Like, if you see the way somebody draws and you want to draw like that, then you emulate them. You try to do what they're doing. So if you want to create good tutorials, then you find somebody that creates tutorials that you think are well presented and good, and then you emulate them. That's the easiest way to create good tutorials. If somebody's already doing it good, there's no reason to invent the wheel again and come up with your own good version. So that's what I would suggest. And it's not like I would take offense to somebody copying my tutorial or my structure or whatever. At the end of the day, you know, if you want to create good tutorial content, then the underlying skill is always going to be how well you are at presenting the information. And no matter how much you try to emulate someone's format for a tutorial, it's still going to be determined on how well you are at writing out the directions for such tutorial. So thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, it's been a while since I've edited a video, but I need to do something with that soon. I like doing the live streams a lot more recently because it's just so easy for me. Fortunately, I am able to explain what I'm doing fairly well without having it pre-written, which is nice. And so the live streams let me just do that without all the editing process. All right, time to get a darker color here, and I'm looking at what color I want to use. I have some. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this color. What is this? This is a 640. This color here, and I'm just gonna come in here and start adding in the really dark spots to some of the fur, so that I can just get them marked in, and then I don't have to work around them. So underneath the chin here around the collar, I can just kind of darken that all in. Hey Cece, don't you work anymore? How are you catching all my live streams? Bum. Hopefully you're having a good day, not working too hard. Like your tutorial, it is pleasant to watch and listen. I would like to follow you for next one. How can I do that? So you can. So I do these live tutorials every week on Patreon, not every week on YouTube, though I probably will try to start doing live streams more regularly, like 2, maybe even 3 times a week on YouTube, but less planned, a little less planned than some of my past ones. And the easiest way would be to just subscribe to my YouTube channel. And apparently you have to click the bell icon. I don't know what the point of the subscription button is anymore on YouTube, but yeah, you can, And apparently, not only do you have to click the button, the bell icon, but you also have to set it up so that you get notified. I am so lost at what YouTube is trying to do. It's yeah. I just make the content. I don't pretend to understand what they do. But yeah. And then of course, if you want to follow some of my more thorough tutorials, you can pledge over on Patreon. I have so many tutorials on Patreon. I don't even, over 100 hours easily. And I've been live streaming my tutorials on Patreon for a while, like a year and a half now, I think, about a year and a half. So there's a whole bunch, and there was tutorials that I uploaded before I was live streaming. So there's just a whole bunch of tutorials on Patreon. Pastels, colored pencils, a graphite one, and then one of the things that you get on Patreon, aside from access to all those live streams, is also I always supply the line art in the reference photo, and some of the reference photos like I purchase just for the patrons, and really high quality reference photos and things. So that's Patreon in a nutshell. So those are the options that you have. And then of course I sell some courses, some tutorial courses over on my website. And I have one Pastel, Intro to Pastel course that a lot of people have done and enjoyed. And then I have an Intro to Colored Pencil course, and then I also have a Colored Pencil Portrait course that I actually just released last month. So I have several options for tutorials. And like I said, I'm going to be doing these live streams on here on YouTube more regular. These, especially pastels. I really enjoy working with pastels, and for the most part, a lot of the people that pledge to me on Patreon do colored pencils, just regular colored pencils, and so I'll do more of my colored pencil tutorials on Patreon, and I'll still sprinkle in some pastel tutorials every now and again when they're requested. That's the other thing, like Patreon, I take the requests on Patreon much more seriously than I do the requests that I get on YouTube, simply because there's less people asking for certain tutorials over on Patreon, and I get like 1 million suggestions on YouTube, and there's just no possible way that I can keep up with all of them. I just got this video. I don't know how. Could you give me your name so I look for it? Thank you. Well, it's Unmask Art. Like, that's the channel you're currently watching. I don't know what else information. Yeah, it's Unmask Art. So if you can't see it on your phone, here, I'll type it in the chat. And you can search that on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that. In the video description, I have links to all of my social media stuff, including my Patreon and stuff. So anything that you need to find is in the video description. Along with, I forgot to mention that the line art for this piece, along with the reference photo of this puppy here, I do have in the video description. So if you like this puppy image, then you can certainly feel free to download the line art and reference photo for it. All right, I think I have the dark spots mapped out fairly well. Now it is time to grab this gray pencil. And this is 700, the number for this pencil. And I'm just going to come through most of the lighter areas of the fur and start covering the highlight spots a bit with this pencil, because there is actually a lot of gray in the fur, but it's like a mix between this color and that first color that I started with. I don't have a pencil that matches the color perfectly, so awesome, Martine. Well, I am certainly glad that you found the video as well. I'm glad you were able to make it to a live stream and ask the questions you needed to find more. The other thing that I kind of forgot, I was going to do it for today's live stream, but I think I'll do it for Monday instead. I was going to post in the Unmask Art Family Facebook page for people to submit some of their work that they've been creating recently, and I was going to do some critiques, but I think I'll do that on Monday. I should be done with this puppy. Maybe there will be a part 3. I'm working rather slowly today, but I have plenty of time to stream today. I started a little bit earlier than I even had scheduled, but I'm gonna try to finish it up today if I can. And then Monday I'll post in the Unmask Art Family Facebook page. If you're not already a member, of course, the link for that is in the description. And I'll do some live critiquing of your guys' work. I know that it's been a little while, so you should have some new stuff for me to look at. And if you want some feedback, there will be a post very soon in the group. I'll probably try to do it. Actually, I have a few mods, I think, that are watching the stream. So if one of the mods wants to make an announcement in the Facebook group right now, even while I'm live, and just make an announcement, and you can just say that if you have some new work and you want it critiqued, then post it in the comments, specifically post it in the comments, and maybe say something along the lines of try to have like the nicest picture of your work that you can. Because if you send me a bad picture, I don't know whether or not it's the artwork is good or bad based on the picture, or because it needs work. So try to get something along those lines and then also tag me in the post so that I get notifications for it and I don't miss it. Maybe coordinate amongst yourselves before three mods all go at once and make the post. But I always enjoy doing that, going over some of the work that you guys send me and post in the group and whatnot. Try to give my input, because I know that I can't take on everyone as a personal student. I have 3 currently right now on Patreon that I have as personal students, but maybe if I had a really, really large classroom. But the live critiques are the best that I can really do, and usually it leaves a good response from people. Should we submit before Monday our drawing for critique? Yes, definitely. It doesn't have to be this drawing. I just want to make that clear. It doesn't have to be of this puppy here. Just anything that you've been working on. Lady Marigold, you're not in the Facebook group? I thought for sure. You were gonna you were in there. It's the Unmask family, the Unmask art family. I have the link for that in the description, so you can just click on that. And thank you for the email, by the way, with the comparison of the United States and Australia. Yeah, that definitely cleared things up in terms of the scale of how large Australia is. I had no idea Australia was so ginormous. Yeah, it's super huge. Oh, okay, Chrissy, thank you. Oh, hello, Shiny. Oh, I'm glad you were able to catch a little bit of it. All right, I think it's time to add a little bit more fur color in here. So I'm gonna grab a bit of yellow. This is 685, and I'm gonna start working in this yellowish color for the under color of the fur. Bring in some yellow, and then I will come over top of that with a bit of orange, just to slowly fill in all of this fur here, paying very close attention to all of the directions that I laid out. See, now that I have all the fur direction laid out, I mean, it doesn't look amazing right now because a lot of the paper is still showing through, but I have all of the direction that I need my pencil to be moving to maintain the correct texture of the fur. And now all the filling in is going to be super, super easy. Almost effortlessly. You saw several people that send artwork to Lisa for her live critique, and at the bottom it said Unmask Art Family. That is interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of that comment. Hello, Anna. Very, very glad to see you. I was wondering if you're going to catch the stream today. What have you been up to? It seems like you've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I haven't seen much work coming from you lately. Usually I spot it very easily on Facebook. You know, everybody can identify Anna's work. It's so it's got so much of a style to it that it's so easily recognizable that makes me a little jealous. Nobody can. I don't think anybody can look at my work and recognize it. But Anna's work, you can't. That is unmistakable. Has so much of her in it. Very, very recognizable work. If you guys think that I'm a good artist, you should go check out Fine Art Anna. Yeah, her work is fantastic. And there's several really great artists in the live chat. So if you have a channel or a Facebook page, feel free to share it in the live chat. I'm not gonna delete it as spam. I'll let you guys go ahead and do that if you want. But yeah, there's quite the family of artists in the live chat, in the Unmask Art family. We've all become pretty good friends, I think. I think that's probably what I like most about my channel, is the community that I've kind of brought together of just super friendly artists and great people. All right, let's see. I think some of this orange over here behind the shoulder will look good. Let's add some orange now. So I'm gonna grab my more orangey color. This is 620 here. Come in here and just darken up some of this fur a bit more. And then I might be able to blend out, do a bit of blending, and then get everything looking really good. Or at least make it start looking good. Yep, the shades are starting to come together. It just takes a bit of time, a bit of patience, not rushing it at all. Just slowly working in. I haven't done any blending yet. Once I do the blending and I start to cover up the paper a little bit more, that's where the fur will really start to come to life. That's the magic moment. I don't have any tape on this one, so unfortunately we don't get that really satisfying ending. I love doing the untaping of like my pastel landscape pieces. That's my favorite part. One day I might start making abstract pastel pieces where I just lay down tape and throw down color and then just satisfyingly peel all the tape up. That sounds really neat, Anna. Painting some mugs. I don't think I've ever painted on porcelain before. When I was younger, and Cece can attest to this, she was there. We used to go to this place in my hometown called the Kiln, and they would do like painting classes where you could pick like a casted clay figure of just about anything you can imagine. They had all kinds of stuff, and then they had an instructor there that would help you find the right colors that you need, and you could just sit there and paint your your piece for like as long as you wanted. And I remember I did this one lady standing next to a wolf, and it was so much fun. Do you remember going and doing that, Cece? We used to go with Travis, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That was like my earliest experience with painting. It was so much fun. Now what I do, in my spare time for painting. Many of you know that I play Magic: The Gathering, and I make a lot of altered artwork for the Magic cards. So I paint the little Magic cards that are, playing cards. Oh, was it porcelain? I thought it was. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was clay, because it was heated. It was baked in the kiln. It was clay pieces. I'm pretty sure it was clay. Oh, hello, Susan. Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you like to start your days off with my tutorials. I like to start my days off by recording a tutorial, although it's mid-afternoon for me. It's going on 1400 now, so a little later. But I actually would have started streaming earlier, but I know that a lot of my audience is in the United States, and streaming at 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is not the most ideal stream time for my channel. So try to find a happy medium for those that wake up early, like Steve. I know Steve wakes up early. You can always count on Steve making it to whatever stream I do, no matter what time it is. He must have his alarm clock set for my stream. Let's see. You guys can see down a little bit farther, so I'm gonna just fill in this fur down here. I was stopping kind of awkwardly down here because I know that I'm zoomed in, so you guys can see the detail a little bit better, and was not sure exactly how far down you could see, but you can see the edge of this arm. So I'm just gonna kind of trace out this arm here, because this arm is cast in shadow over here, so the fur is rather dark, so I can just kind of fill that in quickly. I'm lucky I got to do ceramics as a high school subject. What? You are lucky. That is rad. That would be so fun. I didn't get to do anything fun in art class throughout school. Like, fortunately enough, even as bad as the classes sometimes were, I still enjoyed creating so much that it didn't matter how bad some of the classes and the teachers were. I remember, like, in high school, pardon me, I need to sharpen this pencil really quick. I'll try to do it while I'm talking. I remember in high school, like, it was just high school art class. There was nothing special about it. And one of the things that I kind of liked the teacher did is she required everybody to have a sketchbook, and each week you had to turn in your sketchbook, and you had to draw a certain amount of hours each week, which was easy for me. I was drawing all the time, and basically you would just do a sketch, a drawing or whatever, and then write how many hours or minutes you spent on it. And then she would grade it over the weekend, return it to you on Monday or whatever. And that was always cool. It was cool to kind of have even more motivation to have a sketchbook because it was part of the class. You were required to have it. But that was about the only cool thing about the class. Other than that, none of the projects were all that fun or great to work on. Did get into mixed medium or different mediums because we were always doing something different. Oh, by the way, I'm using that 105 color again. Oh no, I'm wiping off. I think maybe it's 103. No, it's 105. Yeah, it's 105. It's the color I started with in the beginning. We did some like working with molding clay and then baked it in the kiln. And I still remember what I did. I made pancakes with syrup dripping down. I made that out of clay. Like that was my project. And then I painted it, of course, and used glaze to make the syrup look really realistic and syrupy. And I had like a square of butter melting on top. Yeah, it was definitely not my most proud artistic creation. But I got into acrylic painting for the first time. I believe I was in 9th grade. I'm pretty sure I was in 9th grade. And got into acrylic painting a little bit. I actually had my first commission. I had this one really preppy girl that would never, she would have never talked to me on any other occasion. It was, that kind of school. But she had me paint her brother playing football, like really large. It was like 24 by 30, I think, size canvas. And I did it for $20. It was, yeah. I wish I had a picture of it because I don't actually know if it was any good. But I remember doing it. I remember giving it to her, and I don't know what else. That picture could potentially, that painting could potentially be worth a lot of money if I ever get famous enough to make a real living as an artist. But I do remember getting into acrylic painting, and actually one of my paintings went to a national competition. I remember that my teacher was like gushing over it, and it was a really weird painting, and I don't remember where it's at. I want to say that my dad's ex-wife has it. That's what I want to say. I think she has it, but it unfortunately got warped really bad from humidity, and it was a painting of a guy standing in water with his car also in water behind him. It was like a Geico commercial ad or something like that, and it was just really weird, and my teacher loved it for some odd reason. And yeah, what else we had to do reports. Like we had to write papers. I did not, which is why I got a C in the class, because we had to like write 4 papers throughout the year about, I don't even know what they needed to be about, probably other artists or something. But I refused to do any work like that in art class. I was like, I am not writing papers. So even though I had some of the best artwork in the class and produced the most work, I ended up with one of the lowest grades because I refused to do any of the paperwork, any of the writing. I'm sorry, but if you're an art teacher and you make your students write a report, you are a failure of an art teacher. Unless the class is specifically directed towards like art history or something along those lines, then you have failed. You have failed. Oh, Cece, you remember that painting? Yeah. one year art class in high school, I learned the most things ever. One was about traditional drawing. Oh, what happened to the comment? It disappeared. Hold on. One was digital, where I learned Photoshop, not possible in Germany back then. Oh, that would be cool. I would say, let's see. My what it was okay. So when I was in ninth grade, I moved and I changed high schools halfway through, and the first high school that I was going to was this teeny tiny one out in the middle of gosh darn nowhere. The graduating class was like 40 people. Like it was the most like garbage tier high school imaginable. But the art teacher that I had for that first half of my ninth grade year was really, really cool. He was really cool, and he was actually an artist. Like he would do these really big pieces of just a bunch of cartoon characters like in a whole city. So it was like a huge cityscape that had a bunch of like characters, and it was more cartoony. It wasn't realistic or anything, but it was still really well done. And I believe he painted them. They were super colorful, huge, gigantic, colorful pieces. They were really great. He definitely had his own style locked down. So at the very least, I could respect that. But I wanted to start learning how to draw people, and I didn't start until ninth grade. And I was asking him like how to draw people, and though he didn't give me much direction, like personal direction, like he just kind of sat at his desk the whole time. He didn't really teach us anything as far as I remember, but he was at least supportive in my desire to start drawing people, and he gave me a muscle magazine. So he was also into like weightlifting and stuff, and he gave me a muscle magazine, and he just told me to draw the people. And so I was drawing like these super muscle freak people, and it was pretty bad, but I don't know why, but somehow it stuck with me, and it just motivated me to continue trying to draw people. And pretty much from that point forward, it was like all that I did. I would just draw people constantly. And I got into manga after I switched high schools, and the rest is history. That's kind of like where it started for me, where it started to be even more serious, because I've pretty much been drawing nonstop since I was 6 years old. Been experimenting with acrylics lately. Yeah, acrylics are a lot of fun. Yeah, acrylics are a great medium to get into painting, and just working with colors and mixing paint. That was the other thing. Like when I started painting, I only used the primary colors in black and white, and I did that. Let's see, I would have been 14. So I did it for 6 years. So every single painting that I did for 6 years, I never used any colors other than the primary colors in black and white. So anything that I needed to paint, regardless of what the colors were in the reference photo, if I was using one, I would only use the primary colors to mix to get those colors. And I credit that very cheap, very cheap restriction, because that's what it was. It wasn't that I was doing it on purpose. It was just that I was unwilling to spend any extra money for colors I didn't think that I needed, because I thought that I could just mix everything with the primaries. And for the most part, you can. I mean, there's some limitations to it, but I I was like, no, I can just buy these and mix all the colors that I want, and I stuck with that for 6 years. I actually didn't add any additional colors to my acrylic paints until I got into oil painting, in which with oil painting I took a painting class when I started college. Took one painting class, and we needed to buy a kit that had like, I don't know, like 15 colors in it. So I was like, well, I have the colors, I might as well use them. So I got away from the primary colors a little bit with that. I apologize. I was rambling on. I wasn't really talking about what I was doing with this piece. So I'm using a blending stump that is very commonly used with graphite, and I'm blending out my colors, but I'm paying attention to the direction still. So I'm only blending my colors in the direction that I was actually drawing them, and you can see that the fur has really gotten softer, and I'm covering up more of the paper, so the piece is starting to look much better. And you can see where all these directions change with the fur as well. So everything is coming together quite nicely. This is why maintaining that disciplined pencil stroke direction throughout all the fur is just so important for making the fur look good in the end. Yeah, I agree. If you only use the primary colors to mix your colors, you just naturally develop a really good understanding, not just of, you know, what colors mix together to make whatever other color, but also it helps you kind of establish like an artistic eye, and it helps you recognize the subtle colors that are appearing behind, like the ninja purple that I'm always going on about. That color showing up like virtually everywhere. That being able to see that is, I accredit that to having mixed paints for like years upon years, because now I see those subtle colors that start popping out. Because if I was to look at the color and be like, okay, well, I need to mix this with these colors, so I think there's a touch of yellow, or maybe there's a little bit of purple in there, so I need to add just a bit of red and a bit of blue. So I think it's very beneficial for identifying colors, regardless of the medium, because, you know, even if you're using something like colored pencils, you have to layer to get the exact color that you're seeing. So sometimes you'll be reaching for colors that, you know, like purple, that are showing up only subtly, but you know you have to add them because they are there. This fur down here is still rather rough. I didn't add quite enough layers down here. So you can very clearly see my pencil strokes. It's a lot better up here. So I'll just kind of focus in this area here. And speaking of ninja purple, I think it's time to grab my ninja purple. Just because I have quite a bit of it in the fur in the face, so I'm just gonna bring in some of this. And this color here is 642, aka Ninja Purple. I'm I'm not going to add a whole lot of it, because once I blend it out, it will show up rather well. But I feel like it helps pull out the excess orange that shows up, or that I add with my pencils. So pull out some of that excess orange, add some reddish tint to the fur. At this stage, it's more about just kind of like slowly adding colors as they appear and establishing the value differences between the different patches of fur as you go around each section. So I think that this spot here may be a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to grab some of that gray, come in there and just pull out some of that yellow, and then taper in the fur a little bit so it's not so artificial looking. That highlight there in the fur. There we go. I usually, if I'm not doing a tutorial, I'm just kind of working on the piece without talking to myself. I usually hold several pencils in my hand and kind of just go back and forth with the colors until I get the right look. So by no means, even though I'm doing one pencil at a time, I do that so it's a little bit easier for people to follow. But in general, I would recommend holding several pencils to make those small corrections as you see necessary throughout the coloring process. And we can get a little bit darker down here for the cast shadow, separating the arm from the belly a little. This color here is really good for that section of the fur where it starts breaking up and you see the skin, because this is a nice skin color, especially in this shaded region of the puppy. Oh, hello, Ankush. Oh, no apologies necessary. You're here now. That's all that matters. How much is your pencil color? Like the price of it? Is that what you're asking? I have a link for these pencils in the description, so if you're curious of the price, they are listed there. The link will take you to the Amazon page, I think. So you at least would know the price. Not that you wouldn't necessarily buy them from there, but give you all the relevant information. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I try to link all the information that I can think of in the moment in the description, just so that I don't have to answer the same question a million times. I always try to get my supplies listed before the stream. That way it's just a little bit easier to deal with those specific questions regarding supplies, because I know it's a very common thing to want to know like what the artist is using and all of that. So I try to always have that in the description. All right, I think I want a bit more reddish orange. Let's see, which reddish orange? I'm thinking this. Yeah, I think this has the right amount of red. And this is the 680 pencil. Used this one already, but time to use it again for more layers. Probably use some of that gray again as well. Color seems to be getting a little bit oversaturated in some spots. Yeah, the Carbothellos are really, really great pastel pencils. I've used a couple other brands, but the Carbothellos are like the best. Not only in like color, but also in quality. And then they just the price is just so inexpensive for how good they are. At least where I can buy them. I know that depending on where you're at in the world, sometimes prices can be drastically different because of import taxes and country laws and things like that. But if you're in the United States, Canada, UK, or for the most part Europe in general, the Carbothellos are just so inexpensive considering how good they are. So the size of this drawing is A4. Yeah, I don't usually go with the size. I don't usually say the size, but here's my hand. Here's the puppy. So you can see that it's not that big. It's not that much bigger than my hand. On camera, it's kind of hard to tell what exactly the size is. But yeah, this is about an A4 size piece of paper, or 8.5 by 11 if you go by those measurements. And I think this puppy would probably actually fit on A5 or like 8 by 10. Rather small, I would say. I'll keep that in mind though, and try to mention the sizes that I'm working on. If that helps anybody else out, then great. Oh, hello, Robin. Thank you for coming to the live stream. All the Carbothello pencil price went up a little bit. Yeah, that must have been from all of my free advertising. I need to send an email to them and be like, hey, you need to sponsor me. You need to send me some pencils to give away to my subscribers. I keep talking up your pastel pencils, and I need to get on that. Send them an email and be like, hey, what's up? You gonna send me some pencils? I'm still waiting for that breakthrough in my artistic career. I keep getting sent free drawing monitors, like $500, $600, $700 drawing monitors, but for the life of me, I can't get art supplies. It just doesn't even make sense. Like every week, I'm getting contacted by another company being like, hey, we got this drawing monitor. Yeah, you want to test it out, and we'll send it to you for free. And then a few months ago, I gave one away. It was like a $400 drawing monitor. I was like, I don't have any use for it after this review, so I might as well just give it away to one lucky subscriber. Oh, I have no idea if they sponsor anybody. At the very least, they could feature my artwork on their really boring cases. Yeah, on it. It is weird because like all of my work is mainly traditional artwork, but I keep getting contacted by these digital companies that want me to review their digital drawing monitors. No complaints though. No complaints. I'm happy to do it. You give me a free $500 anything, and I'll be happy to do it. Just about within reason. Okay, I gotta add that caveat to that statement. Oh, I'm sorry, Martine. I must have missed that question. Do I ever use the pan pastels to do some of my base layers? And the answer is yes, I do, but it's rare. I haven't done it in a while. I have a nice set of the pan pastels, and I've used them a few times. But when I'm working larger with my soft pastels, I usually just use those because I find them to be faster. But the pan pastels are great. I just haven't gotten into using them all that much. But I certainly could. I think I'm going to try to sharpen this pencil a little bit. Just like on Monday, I'm using this sandpaper sharpener to get nice sharp tips with my pencils. Have I looked into Social Blue Book? No, I've never heard of that before, Wendy. This is the first I'm hearing of it. There's so many like resources out there to like expand your audience or do collaborations or whatnot. There is so many resources out there. I just lack so much motivation in reaching out to these companies and whatnot. See, that's why I always like to do the drawing monitor reviews when they contact me and they ask me about doing them, because they contact me. Like, I don't do anything. They just send me an email like every other week, asking me to do a review, and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Send it my way. And none of these art companies with the pencils or the markers or anything have ever. Well, no, I take that back. There is this one company that sells these super extra cheap non-professional art supplies that I get a new email from them maybe like once a month. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want them to be advertised. But they always claim that they're like these artist level markers or paint or whatever it is, and it's just not true. And I refuse to do a review of their product because I have no doubt that it's not quality product. And that is the one art company That is the one art company that continuously reaches out to me. But as far as like the bigger name brand stuff, the supplies that I actually use, none of them have ever sent me an email or anything. Maybe I should do a review of the products that I use, but I feel like the fact that I use them is a review enough, and that I suggest other people to buy them. It's like I wouldn't use products that I don't like, so it's maybe that's why they don't reach out to artists, because they know their product is so good that people are just going to buy it. It works, I guess. It would be nice. Social Blue Book. I'm gonna have to hold on a second. I'm gonna have to go. Wendy, I said I wasn't gonna say their name. Social Blue Book. Okay. I wanted to get to the webpage really quick. Yeah, I wish that I could hire my wife to work for me, and I would just have her manage all of my social media, gosh darn marketing side of stuff. It's just not my thing. Like it's rather ironic that I do YouTube as a living, because technically YouTube is a social media platform. It used to be better as a social media platform in the sense that you could make video responses and kind of connect all of them to one another, but now they just have playlists and that's it. But yeah, I'm not huge on like the social media stuff. I have an Instagram, I barely use it. I have a Twitter that I barely use, and I just can't really get into it all that much. And I always feel slightly awkward when I do posts on Facebook, because I never really know what to say. I never really know what to say on my Facebook page. It would just be so much easier if my wife would just do it for me, instead of her job that she has now. Maybe one day I'll be able to hire her. I'll be able to afford that, and then we can just hang out at home all day and create content together. Many companies won't contact you until you do some reviews on products, so they can see how you review products overall. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what that was like the thought that I was thinking when I had said that maybe I should just do reviews of what I'm using. The country the artist is from has a big importance. Yeah. All right, the fur is starting to come together, more here than here and here, but it's starting to look a little bit like fur. Definitely need more of this color on the arm. Let's grab the peachy color, fill in this part. There we go. Let's grab some dusty brown. This brown color is the 625. It's a rather dull brown, good for adding value to the fur without adding any like additional red or orange. I need to just create my own art company and make my own brand of pastel pencils and whatnot. I wonder how hard that would be. I have no idea what goes into like making such a company. Because in my mind there's just it in my mind I would say like quality over anything. Like I would want my art supplies to be the absolute most top-notch quality imaginable. But then I'd probably make no money. Because I'd be like, no, I want the highest possible quality and the lowest possible price. I don't want to like make it unattainable for normal people, for non-professional artists. I mean, Carbothello does it well with their pencils, so maybe I can do it. Alright, let's see, where else do I need some of this brown? I think this needs to be a little bit darker over here. I need to add a bit of value to this part of the fur here. A little bit under the ear, just to get that separation a bit more obvious. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think the fur on the back needs to be just a little bit darker. So I'll just lightly add this color to some of the fur in the back, and then I'll be able to blend out and get it to look better. Oh, Wendy, that actually does sound like a good idea. Unfortunately, like for Carbothello, I use all the colors, but I know that several pastel brands have like a collection, like an artist collection of a specific artist. Oh, hello, Chris. Good to see you again. Alright, I think I'm going to do some blending. I think it's time for some blending. Let's get rid of this grainy texture from the pencil, do some smoothing of the fur, and see if we can't get it to look a little bit better. So I'm just going to use the blending stump again and gently smooth out the grainy pencil. I don't really want to smush the colors. I don't really want to spread them very far. I just kind of want to keep the fur-like texture. I just want to get rid of the pencil grain, so I'm just brushing it very, very lightly in the direction, the proper direction. Always, always the direction. Yeah, it's time to incorporate a little bit of that purple color as well. Bring out the reds in the fur with that purple color again. Get it to match the fur on the face a little bit better, because the fur on the face appears to be a bit darker. Oh, that is awesome, Lily. It's good to hear. This stage of the coloring process can be rather tedious, so I can't ever make a tutorial without expressing the importance of staying patient. If I were to rush now, I would never get it to look the way that I want it. So I just need to take my time with my colors and my layering to get the look that I want. I feel like the fur here needs to be a bit more gray, working around the shoulder, kind of like in this area right there. I still have a lot of work to do on the lower part of the arm here. Quite a bit of work to do here still. There we go. I do like the highlights though. I think the highlights are really popping out quite a bit. I'm kind of considering doing the collar and the leash sort of. I kind of want to not touch it until the fur is completely done. So I think what I'm going to do is grab my purple, my Ninja Purple again, and just do another layer of this. Oh, that's okay, Wendy. I'll understand. I'll understand. Not a problem. So I'm going to use the purple here to do a bit of deepening in the layers of the fur. So you can see that the fur is kind of bunching up right here, and it raises up and then it lowers down. It kind of has this deeper shadow kind of running through it right here. So I'm going to, it's in those areas where I'm going to focus this purple. And it does it again right here a little bit as it creeps into the fur into the arm, changing directions. So mind the directions there. Gets a little bit darker right in here. And I'm going to work around the collar here a bit as well. Gotta add plenty of this purplish color so that the fur matches the face. Can't have a different color head on the puppy here. That would be weird. Puppies with different fur color on the head. Let's see, where else? I'm gonna brush this purple kind of over this highlight a little bit here. The highlight texture is just not textured enough to match the rest of the fur. So I'm gonna kind of brush it gently over the entire highlight. Yeah, that's better. I'm gonna add it to this arm down here. I only have black colored sanded paper available, and I find it difficult to transfer my image on it. Any methods you can suggest? So black colored sanded paper. So if you're using your sanded paper, I imagine that you want to use pastels. So what I would recommend doing is transferring it with a white graphite pencil. I'm pretty sure there's a white graphite pencil, not colored pencil, but white graphite or white charcoal. That would probably be a really good way to transfer the drawing. Trying to think of what else you could possibly use. You could also, if you're using the back tracing method, so the back tracing method, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's where you have your original sketch or tracing and it's on scrap piece of paper and you want to put it onto your actual piece that you're working on. What you can do is take a white pastel pencil or a white pastel and rub it onto the back of your paper and then lay it onto your sanded paper and then trace it with like an H4 pencil, something that's really dense and hard. And then when you take it away, you should be left with like a nice white ghost outline. That would probably be a really good option. I'm not sure if the excess white is going to transfer over, like where, you're not tracing. You might want to just test it out, but that back tracing method might be an option as well. But instead of using like graphite or black pastel, you're using white pastel instead. And if it does work, let me know. And if it doesn't work, also let me know. Let's see. What am I doing here? I forget what I'm doing. I should use some more gray. That's what I should do. And I'm going to sharpen it again. All right, that's better. Yeah, I'm going to add some more gray up in here in the shoulder. Not quite happy with the way those colors are coming together right there. I'm going to kind of run this gray through a lot of the highlighted spots on the arm here, because I feel like what's missing is some texture running through the highlight. And I can add that with some of my darker colors and do like really thin lines, but I'm not to that stage yet. So I want to get the base of it better, and this area of the arm definitely needs some more color. Have I ever used a swordfish pencil sharpener? No, I have not. I have not used. I'm using a Helix pencil sharpener, and though it works for the most part with the pastel pencils, some of the pencils are just too delicate. That's another thing. Like back on the subject of like creating my own art supplies. A gosh darn pencil sharpener. A pencil sharpener that works like all the time. That's something that needs to be invented. And I have this idea. Now I sound like my dad. I don't know if Cece's still in chat, but nobody has more ideas than my dad. But I have this idea for a pencil sharpener. You have those rotary hand crank ones that use kind of that corkscrew shape. But I feel like there's a superior shape of that corkscrew that could be used to sharpen pencils to a fine tip without constantly breaking every single one. I'll have to look up the swordfish sharpener. I'm going to actually do that now so I don't forget. You guys bring up such great stuff during the live stream that there's always something that I need to look for afterwards. And I always forget. And I don't know how to spell sharpener because I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. I think I added too much. Alright, let's... it's not reviewed very well on Amazon. Okay. Yeah, so it's very similar. It's very similar to my Helix sharpener. It just has a different shape. Get a nice metal sharpener and rotate the sharpener instead of the pencil. Yeah, I've tried several. I've tried several sharpeners. I mean, the Helix sharpener works really well. Like, but I feel like it may have gotten a little bit dull. Maybe a little dull, the blades. Alright, I need to rework some of the fur in this area. Not quite coming together the way that I want. Yeah, pencil sharpeners are always a pain. They want to work and then they stop working, and then they are expensive. Like, good ones are expensive. Good pencil sharpeners are super expensive, and they all have the same fault in getting dull like super fast. And I've tried sharpening my Helix one because I know for like the first like 3 or 4 months of having it, all I could talk about was how amazing it was during the live stream. Anytime I needed to sharpen any pencil, pastel pencil, graphite pencil, color pencil, even Prismacolors were very, very easy to sharpen with it when I first got it. But now I feel like it is rather dull, and I'm constantly having to take it apart and pull out broken pencil tips, and it's very frustrating at times. Especially during the streams. Like, I don't want to spend 40% of my live stream fiddling around with a gosh darn pencil sharpener, and sometimes I feel like it comes to that a little bit, where I'm sitting here trying to fix the pencil sharpener or just get the pencil sharpened. I like the sandpaper. The sandpaper is what gave me the idea for a better version of that rotary type pencil sharpener. Instead of having like that corkscrew shaped blade that spins around the pencil, why not have like a file? Like wood files. They have those wood files that there's like the really rough ones, and then they have smoother and smoother and smoother. Like, wouldn't a wood file be a better alternative than that really coarse blade that dulls out after 5 pencils? I was actually, yeah, Robin, I was looking into getting an electric sharpener and seeing if maybe like the consistency of it being an electric sharpener, that it would help sharpen the pencils a bit more consistently without dulling out or something. I don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe one day a sharpener will fall into my lap that doesn't like stop working after a week. Oh, hello, Gabor. Minus the second R. Have I tried sharpening a woodless graphite? Yeah, actually, I have several woodless graphite pencils that I just break. Like, I don't use them at all. I just break off the tip. I wonder if I have one here. Yeah, so this, I've never used this pencil. But this, I don't know, this one is woodless, but it has this weird coating over it. And it's really annoying. It just peels off. Look how stupid this is. I don't know what the deal is, but I've never used this pencil. I only use it in my pencil sharpener. Let's see here. Do I have my... So it has this weird coating on it that just comes off. And so what I do is I just break them. So I just break the tips off of this pencil. I don't use it at all. But I only got it to put into my pencil sharpener and to sharpen. But I don't know how well it works. So it does get it nice and sharp. I'm not sure how well it works in actually sharpening the blade, though. That's the only thing. I bought like 4 or 5 of them to try to sharpen the blade with the pencil sharpener, but it hasn't given me much improvement or much hope in salvaging what used to be my favorite pencil sharpener, because it actually worked back in the day. Back in the day when I first bought it. Oops. All right, so there's the dog. It's coming along. I'm just gonna do some final blending here with this. I still have quite a bit of work to do. I was thinking that I was going to get done with this today, but I'm always like overestimating the speed in which I can work. I mean, if I'm not taking my time, then I certainly could have finished this probably on the first day, but I'm not rushing this piece at all. Sometimes I do that with my tutorials, and I go back and watch like the finished piece, and I'm like, it just doesn't do the piece justice, and so I end up regretting it doing the rushed tutorials. And as I briefly mentioned on Monday, I've just been in the mood to do live streams and just come by and hang out and talk about how bad my pencil sharpener is now, among other fun topics, and instead not really focusing as much on the entire piece being a tutorial, but certainly happy to take on all of your guys' questions and just kind of hang out and have fun and create. I think I'm gonna call it a day after I finish blending out some of these spots here. I'm gonna get some food because I haven't eaten anything yet, and I've been awake for a while. Been awake for 10 hours or so. Not quite 10 hours. 8 hours. Well, thank you, Robin. Yes, Coffee Cat, hanging out. We're still working on the colored pencil piece of the fairy tale landscape thingy that I drew up on the live stream a couple weeks ago. And I was going to do, or I still kind of am doing, a coloring competition with it, but I haven't made a video announcing it officially. And I need to do that. Maybe I'll try to do that and have that posted next week. That way it is actually official and it will give me something to focus on. Yeah, I'm done blending here. I still need more layers on the fur in this area, but I think this is actually a decent spot to pause on, because I did not intend the pun that is about to happen, because next week I can do the pause. Now I said pause and now I'm saying pause. Anyways, so the feet are generally somewhat difficult. Really what happens is people draw what they think the paws look like and not what they actually look like. In this case, what the reference photo looks like. So I think that's a good place to focus on for Monday's live stream. So I guess there's going to be a part 3 to this tutorial. I didn't know how many parts there was going to be, but apparently so far we're up to number 3 for sure. Anyways, for all of you that support me over on Patreon, I will see you tomorrow. And also don't forget to join the Unmask Art family, because I will be doing critiques on Monday. So share some of your most recent completed works. Try to limit yourself. Don't get too excited. Maybe just do one. Pick the one that you really want me to critique or something like that. And I'll do that on Monday, give you some good feedback, and then we'll work on the pause. And yeah, that'll be it. So for those of you that I get to see tomorrow, I look forward to it. And for those of you that I get to see only on next Monday, join Patreon. And have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.